All right, so here we are today. We're with a friend of mine, Daryl, who came to me and said that he wanted help replacing his deck. So this was his existing deck. You can sort of, the line is right here, back. I convinced Daryl if he was going to take the time and rip it up, he might as well extend the deck. So as you can see, this is all a new section of the deck. Now Daryl is a very handy guy, but didn't have much construction experience. Daryl said that he did in fact want to extend it, asked for our help. So what we're doing here with Daryl is we're showing him everything that he needs to do, each of the steps in installing this new deck. We'll show Daryl how to do installation of, say, the floor joist. So we'll do these deck joists here, show him once or twice. We come back a few days later and he's got the entire thing done. So that's the same thing for digging the footings, installing the blocking. As you can see, he's done a pretty good job. This is 90% Daryl. So we're at the point now where he's ready to install the decking. So as you can see here, the lighting's not great, but this is the natural color unstained. So the first tip I have for anybody who wants to do their own deck, and we're gonna go sort of backwards from the finish down to the rough part of it, is one, once you've chosen whatever type of material you want, you should do some internet research on the best type of wood. This is a hardwood, so it's really good. A little more expensive, but it's good. You can decide whatever color you want, and Daryl, and I don't want to misspeak or speak for you, but I think you wanted variation. You didn't want the deck to all be the same color, right?
Exactly.
So what Daryl's doing is he's taking the stains that he likes, and he's taking 20% of the finished decking material or 25% of it, staining it one color, then he's taking 30% staining it another color, 20% another color, so that once it all goes in, you're gonna have a lot of different color variation. As well, when you stain it and you seal it, it's gonna give it much longer deck life. So there's that piece of it. One piece we ran into today, which is why we came over, is because after he took out the old decking material, which is here, this is about 1.5 inches. So if I take, let me get this. I'm going to take 2 pieces of the new material, and as you can see, 2 pieces equals 1 piece in terms of the thickness. So we obviously don't want to stack up 2 pieces of finished material. So Daryl said, what are we going to do here? Because I don't want a transition coming from this existing concrete deck down to this new deck I'm putting it in. It's a trip hazard. So what we came up with the help of old Leo over there, is you take 2x4s and you shim them. So we're going from 3/4 of an inch down to nothing. The reason we picked 3/4, again, this old material is 1.5 inches. This is new material is 3/4. So when you stack the two, your height is going to be equal. Let me put one more in. To that existing height of this deck here. So when you screw it in, it'll be flush. So if we just shot a nail in here or hammered one in here, because these shims are so thin, there's a good chance that they would crack. So you take this finished piece, you have your shim, you pre-drill it, what they call pre-drilling. Take a drill bit, drill through there, and then you put your fastener in or your screw. So this allows you to pre-drill and counter, what they call countersink. So you'll put this on your drill, you'll drill through this entire assembly, through your finished wood, through your shim, into your joist, and then once you're ready to put your screw in, you screw right into it, and then you don't have to worry about this cracking, you don't have to worry about the screw sticking up. Here it'll be nice and flush, which is, you can't really see it here, but on the countersink, it's sort of shaped like a cone, like an ice cream cone, so it allows your screw to sit down into the decking material so that it's nice and flush, so that it's not sticking up. And it's just a really clean look, and then you don't have to worry about any of these boards cracking, you don't have to worry about your floor joist, you don't have to worry about the shims, so it's nice and easy. So you can do this in one fell swoop. And like Leo said, make sure whatever size fastener you get a countersink that's one size smaller, because if it's the same size or bigger, once you put the screw in, it's not going to have anything to grab. You want to walk up this and see if it, obviously not screwed in, so it's still going to be a little wobbly, but this will at least give you a good sense.
Yeah, you can't tell that it's sloping off.
Yeah. Yeah. See, that's perfect. That's another tip if you're doing your own deck installation. You want consistent gaps between each of the boards. So if you take a nail or a couple of nails, you can take a board and hammer 3 or 4 nails perfectly straight. You can chalk line or just take a straight edge like a level and draw a line right down the middle. Nail 3 or 4 nails in there, and then each time you lay a piece of finished decking material, your nails would stick down through here. You push it against there, and then you'll have a really consistent line like that for each of them. Now, when you do that though, you have to make sure, because this wood is exposed, you're gonna have to seal both edges, top and bottom, so that you don't have water intrusion, so that these don't rot. So once we have all of these ripped down, we're going to put them on these this floor joist here for the deck. We're going to rip a piece here, here, here. It's going to go all along here. And then when we install the new decking, it will gradually slope down. And we did it over 4 feet. So it's going to be a 4-foot gradual slope, and you won't really notice it. So that's one part of the deck. Second part of the deck, for those of you who are doing your own deck. Once all of the joists were installed, wood has a tendency to bend a little bit, so what you have to do is you have to install blocking. Blocking is simply pieces of wood that will help keep the proper spacing between each of the joists. So again, Daryl did almost all of this. There are a couple of areas that need to be shaved down sometimes when you get wood, even though you should check it every time to make sure that it's straight and that there's no crown in it, which we'll also show you how to do. Sometimes you're just going to have a bit of a variation. So on a deck, if you're off by a 1/16 of an inch, it doesn't really matter. Once you start getting to a 1/4 of an inch, that's when you're going to have dips and bows in the deck itself. Along this front edge here, as you can see, none of these pieces are really equal in terms of how far they stick out. So at the end, once you have the deck framed out how you like it, what we're going to do is we're going to take a chalk line and we're going to snap it from here across to the other side. Leo, do you have that chalk?
Sure.
That chalk line? We'll show you on a section real quick. We're not going to do the whole thing. You can see over there, it's kind of a pain to go over there.
How far out do you want to come?
You can just go over 3 or 4. Yeah, you can stop there. All right. So here's what's going to happen. We're going to measure, go forward a little bit. This is just for demonstration purposes, but once everything is done and before we lay the final decking, we are going to pull this chalk line, snap it, Leo. So now if you look, you have a line, a reference. So Leo will mark down the side of each joist where we're going to cut. So he would go all the way down here, and then we're going to take a saw, and you as a DIYer, you just do the same thing. You have your framing square. Once you snap your line, if you take a saw and cut that straight, you cut that straight, and you do it all along the front, Now you will have a perfectly straight leading edge. You can put your final, in this case 2x6 along that, and your frame for your deck will be complete. And then you can lay all of your framing, or excuse me, all of your finished material on. And it's a nice clean look. Daryl, again, is very meticulous. He doesn't mind spending the time and the energy. So what we're going to do is we're also going to, well, we don't even have to show him. He knows now. He's going to snap line once he starts laying his finished decking material. He'll take a chalk line and he'll snap a line directly above these joists all the way to the end, and then that's where each of his screws will be put in, so they'll be perfectly straight. One last thing I want to show people: if you haven't done much framing, this is one thing that people always have a hard time wrapping their minds around. If you've ever wondered, when you look at fences, doors, any type of framing, why there are cross pieces like this. It's just an angled piece, and people often wonder, like, why is that there? What is the purpose of that? This piece of wood here, you can see, is very flimsy. This is a post. So what we did here at the bottom, we anchored this in. You can't really see it that well, but anyway, there's a piece of wood here, here, and back there that holds the bottom in. Now, when it comes to wood framing, if you want something solid, you have to anchor it in one spot at the bottom or a couple of spots at the bottom, same thing at the top. So while this seems very flimsy, let me show you this. A strong member, this is anchored here. So now this wood will not allow this to go back and forth. It can still wobble this way, but it's anchored solid, so it will not go in that direction. So you've eliminated the shear going this way. Now we take one other piece that's anchored, again, solid, and because this piece is anchored to another solid piece, now it won't move. So this is a very solid post now. And people always look at that when they haven't had much experience or they don't know much about framing, and they always wonder why and how you can make something solid. So as you start building, pay close attention to that, because this works for fences, handrails, anything. So for now, those are just some tips. If you're doing your own deck, feel free to ask me questions in the comments. We'll be adding more videos about building your own deck, but hopefully that helps you out a bit. I know this is putting the cart before the horse, because we didn't really get into the foundation and how you actually lay out the foundation and install it for a deck. Again, there are a million videos on YouTube about how to build decks, a lot of really good ones. So you can use this video to supplement other ones. And again, feel free to ask me questions. We're happy to show you anything. We do a lot of decks. And that's about it. Thanks for watching.